Hey guys, welcome to Podiatry Practice Mastery. Don here. I want to talk a little bit today and kind of I want to try to change the format a little bit of the way I'm doing this podcast. I've been reading a couple of books recently. One is called Story Worthy. And Story Worthy, I may have talked about it before, but basically he's a guy that he's a teacher at a high school, and he teaches stories, and he teaches how to tell stories and the importance of storytelling, and he kind of goes into the whole past, even starting with the Bible, about how stories were used or parables were used, and it makes it a lot easier. And kind of how it relates to podiatry, I'll get into that a little bit. But recently, I was interviewing a couple of people. I think you may have seen the interview where I interviewed Larry Huppman. And what's interesting is when he was explaining his orthotic explanation, it was actually done with a story. It was a story of a research study that was done where a probe was put in the plantar fascia, and having a high contour orthotic was something that was going to relieve that stress and strain through it. So it was a story. And what I think our patients, they resonate with stories. And as I was traveling this weekend, I went to Florida, and so just so you guys know, I'm telling you a story. I'm trying to learn to tell stories. So you're gonna have to bear with me if you're listening to these things. Hopefully, I'll get better over time. But I was going to Florida recently, and I forgot to do my pre-check, my TSA pre-check. Now, it wasn't so bad on the way there. I went to Orlando for a little church seminar, and it wasn't so bad on the way there because I had enough time. But on the way back, I forgot to put in my TSA pre-check, and I was kind of looking all over the place. Where in the world is my TSA pre-check number or my known traveler number? Because on the way back, everything was delayed. Everyone was eating their lunch and getting delayed on the. We took this big bus with about 30 of us back, and we were running late. And so a regular line was about a 30-minute wait, but the TSA pre-check was like a 5-minute wait. And I eventually found it. So just for you guys, I usually use her name is Sally Higgins. She's my travel agency. She does all my traveling. Now, just for you, if you do your own traveling planning, it's so much easier just to have someone. She just does it. This is once again going back to the who's. Just find a who that'll do it for you. I pay her $30. She does it, and it's not so much worth it when it just works well, but it's when like flights get changed or I need a refund or all these other things that it's just way worth it. I don't have to worry about it. She does everything. But anyway, I scheduled this one because I had some leftover miles from something else that was canceled with JetBlue, and I finally found it, but I had to search in all my emails, and it was such a pain. So I added it to my my known traveler number, to my personal name within my contacts in my phone. That's where I kind of add those things, just in case I'll need it again, so I don't have to keep searching for it, because that was a really kind of a struggle there. But I think it just, the whole key here is trying to kind of cut the line. I think there's a lot of things in life that we can cut the line, and TSA is one of them. And there's a lot of things that you can cut the line within podiatry. Like, you want to speed up the process, you have to learn something more. And that's kind of the whole purpose of this podcast and the membership portion. I want you guys to be able to cut the line and not have to go through all the struggles that I went through to learn all of these things. That's why I kind of share different types of ideas with you. And this latest idea is about telling stories. So the story, the couple of good books for you. Once again, I would highly recommend you guys get Audible and listen to books when you drive. That's what I do. So the one is called Story Brand by Donald Miller, and the other one is called Story Worthy. Both of these I'll put kind of in the show notes underneath here in the description. But both of these books, they kind of explain how to tell stories and why stories are important. And let me give you a simple example. If someone comes to you as a podiatrist, because most of us are podiatrists, we are a commodity. If everyone's just comparing podiatrist to podiatrist, you might offer a few other things. You might be a little bit more special about, you might do more sports medicine, you might do more surgery, you might do more, dermatology, whatever. But when they're looking, a lot of my patients, they look at the Google reviews, and that's how they decide on me. Okay? But what what really has to happen is they have to connect with you. And if they can connect with you prior, that's much better. And how do they connect? They connect with stories. And what I found what works well is I have a video. Now, I haven't used it as much, and I'm going to start using it more, but it's a video about why I went into podiatry. Basically, it's a video. I'm just sitting there talking about why I went into podiatry. And this is called an origin story. And this I got from Russell Brunson, okay? He has a lot of good books. I think you should read them if you want to get into this marketing stuff. But the origin story is basically how you got there. Like, patients, they want to kind of know the backstory of, well, why in the world did you go into podiatry? What is your story behind it? Like, for me, my story is when I was actually, it started when I was in Brazil. So when I was in Brazil, I was a student. I went to Brazil, and in Brazil, they only give the youth 3 options. You can be a dentist, you can be a doctor, and you can be a lawyer. And I was 17 when I went there, and I kind of assimilated that. Like, there's no doctors in my family. And when I came back, I started the pre-med course. I was a history major, because in my days they told me you should be a non-science major, because if you don't get in, you have a backup plan. And so I went into podiatry because I shadowed different doctors. And when I shadowed them, the podiatrists were the happiest. That's why I did it. I didn't apply to other, like the MD schools or things like that. Like, the podiatrists were the happiest. After I took the MCATs, I checked that little box, give me information about podiatry, and then I shadowed some, and it was Dr. Hoover. And Dr. Hoover, he was in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I don't know if you guys know him. He's a gentleman. He was just kind of eccentric. He liked to play jazz. He had a little jacuzzi, and he played jazz, and he invited all the people over and things like that. But he had a great practice. He saw kids, he saw adults, he did surgery. He just loved what he did, and I was like, wow, I think I'd like to do this. And then Dr. Wachter, I think it's Wachter. Man, I'm sorry. He was in New Ulm, Minnesota. I shadowed him when I was when I was at home in Minnesota. Kind of, I was starting college, and all of those were the ones that kind of influenced me to go into podiatry, and I was happy I did it, and it was a good story. So what's your story? What I would challenge you guys this week to do is just to take a camera or start Zoom and just kind of share your story. Imagine as if someone is asking you, hey, why in the world did you go into podiatry? And when you get that story, that's a good story. And it's probably going to suck the first time, okay? Just like today, I'm trying to tell stories, and it might not be as good, but hopefully it'll get better with time, because people resonate with stories. And then what you'll do, I would recommend putting the story on your website, or when someone makes an appointment, kind of send them the story. Hey, I want to tell you kind of why I got into podiatry. What's the story behind me? Or you could put it kind of in a welcome packet. That's something, if you go to my website, drpelto.com, there's a welcome packet, and in there you're going to kind of see the story behind why I kind of went into podiatry. And it's something that's interesting, something that'll help you guys in your practice. I would recommend doing that, and telling a story behind something is key. And this is something that I'm kind of working on, and this is something I'm learning from Russell Brunson. It's not my idea, it's his idea, but I think patients resonate with stories, and they want to know why before they want to know like how. And I'll just give you one example. So for example, we do a lot of shockwave in the office. Now, why in the world do we do shockwave? A lot of times patients want to know, because I can tell them, hey, we do shockwave. So you have plantar fasciitis, you're going to need shockwave. But I'm assuming, I'm going to be testing this out, but I'm assuming that it's going to be a lot better if I say, hey, Mrs. Jones, we, before, 5 or 6 years ago, we didn't have shockwave. So we were giving cortisones to everyone, and, some got better, some didn't get better. But what we've been finding as we've been doing it these last 5 years, we needed a better way. And this better way was shockwave, something that's tell the story of how they're using it in Europe and things like that, and they're getting great results, and how we've been doing it in our office has been working great. So telling a story before you kind of provide or offer that, if you can have an orthotic story as well, like how you kind of got into orthotics, how you've seen some great results with other patients, I think these stories are going to resonate. So that would be my challenge. Make your own origin story. If you want to send it to me, that's great. If you want to see mine, I'll put it once again under the show notes here. Okay? Great, guys. Okay, have a great day.